Well, the Florida Gators held a contest in the swamp last night. Yes, it was their 2023 spring game, blue versus orange. And we're here on Southeastern 14 to break it all down, the good, bad, and the ugly. Hello, everyone. I am Blayne Gilmer. Welcome to Southeastern 14. We cover everything SEC here on this channel. So make sure to like, subscribe, rate, review here on not only on the YouTube channel, but on the podcast platforms. So we appreciate you tuning in. We're here to react to the Florida Gators spring football game that occurred last night. There were some good things, contrary to how social media reacted a little bit with not necessarily the most exciting performance. Ended up being a 10-7 victory for the orange team. But when it comes down to it, what you want to see if you're Billy Napier, if you're the Florida staff, and really if you're Florida fans, is you want to see improvement. You want to see a clean game. You want to see nobody get injured. I think for the most part, there weren't any devastating injuries. There weren't anything that's going to, hurt Florida going forward and things like that. But in terms of this game being just a performance, a crisp, clean performance that is going to get people excited, it was not. But we do want to point out some of the good things. Okay, I think Florida has a running back core that is very good. Okay, when you talk about Montrell Johnson, when you talk about Etienne. When you talk about Cam Carroll, who transferred in from Tulane, I thought he looked twitchy. I thought he had some things that he looked explosive. Okay, so they have three running backs that I think they're confident in, and that's good. They're going to need that because the offensive line is an issue in terms of pass protection and picking things up right now. Even those backs, as good as they look running the ball, they struggled with blitz pickup a little bit on just some basic stuff. So Florida is going to need offensively to be able to run the football effectively in order to give themselves any chance in the SEC this year. And I think Trevor Etienne has proven he can do that. Montrell Johnson's a load, like I said, and Cam Carroll, I was pleasantly surprised with how he came in and performed for the Gators. They didn't get as good of a push up front as I think Billy Napier would have liked to seen. There weren't enough yards before contact. So I think that's something they're going to want to do differently. Listen, Austin Armstrong and the Florida defense, they were playing confident. They were flying around. So that's something good for the Florida fans. But I think in a spring game, I know Chris Doering, who was doing the color commentary on SEC Network, he was about apoplectic up there as a former Florida Gator, wanting to see more offense, wanting to see the defense settle down a little bit, not bring as much heat, to give Graham Mertz, to give Jack Miller an opportunity to try to find some of those receivers. And I think part of the problem is, yeah, there were some blitzes mixed in there, but part of the bad for the Gators was there just wasn't enough separation by the receivers early in downs to prevent that pressure from getting there, because sometimes it was a secondary pass rush move that was getting there for the Gators, whether it were guys like Cam Jackson on the defensive front or Will Norman. These guys were pushing whichever offensive line they were going up against. They were pushing them into the lap of the quarterback. Jack Miller, Graham Mertz were continually having to leave the pocket. And I think that's a good thing that you saw for Florida. I think Graham Mertz and Jack Miller both acquitted themselves well. I think they've got two quarterbacks that are capable. Are they superstars? Are they game breakers? No, they're not. But I think, to say that Florida's just totally devoid of any kind of capability there at quarterback would not be fair. They are not guys that are going to be able to play behind the chains and make some off schedule things and stuff like that. I think Jack Miller is more athletic than Graham Mertz is, but in order for the Florida offense to be successful this year, they are going to have to be able to run the football effectively, stay on schedule. When they get some of those RPO looks, that style that Billy Napier likes to do, whether it's the true RPO where you're actually reading a defender. Is this safety going to come down into the box? Is he going to stay back? Is the linebacker going to stay here? Is he going to drop out wide? Things of that nature. Or the play action game, when they get open looks, like they got Aiden Mizell early, a freshman who it can really fly for Florida and has an opportunity to be one of, if not their only real playmaker on the outside. He was open early, but Jack Miller just couldn't get it to him. He didn't release it early enough, didn't push it down the field to be able to take advantage of that one-on-one matchup. And I think you've got to see guys like Ricky Pearsall, like Xavier Henderson, be able to get separation better earlier in the downs, because if you're having to rely on Jack Miller and Graham Mertz to make, throws time and time again in tight windows, I don't know that it's necessarily fair to ask that of them at this point in their career right now. I think as a receiving core, the Gators have to kind of help out those quarterbacks a little bit, let them get comfortable in the system and be able to win at the line of scrimmage, get open, okay? Because the Gator secondary, I think, is improving. It's getting better. They're well coached. But when it comes down to it, it's not like this is the best secondary that they're going to face. Okay, they're going to go up against teams like Georgia. They're going to go up against the LSUs. Okay, so you're going to see better secondaries out there. I think Utah will be a better secondary than what they see out against their own defense right now. So you got to be able to get that separation. So that's something that's a little concerning. The ugly was, it was just an ugly performance in terms of how it was organized a little bit. I mean, they're saying no blitzes. They're blitzing the crap out of each other. Billy Napier, you can tell he's getting a little frustrated by the lack of offense. He's adding time back on the clock. He's calling off penalties, doing everything he can as an offensive coach to kind of help out the offense a little bit. But the main ugly was that offensive line's inability to handle a bull rush, inability to really stop the initial surge of a defensive front, and then there were simple blitzes. It wasn't like they were doing a whole lot of disguising and coming late. They did do they actually brought a corner blitz or two in that game, which is kind of crazy in a spring game. But most of the looks were rather simple blitz looks, and Florida just looked confused, whether it was the back not understanding how to fit into the protection of the offensive line sliding one way, the back ends up getting on his head on the wrong side of the defender, and that affects how the quarterback is taught to escape the pocket in that protection. So it's just some things like that, hey, that's what you have spring practice for. That's what you go in to clean things up on. But I think that if you're a Florida fan, you walked away from that game concerned about the quarterback play in terms of, is it going to be dynamic enough? I think there's a decent floor there that you can build off of, but is the ceiling going to be high enough that, hey, when you're facing some of these, really, really elite defenses, are they going to be able to create that magic? We know Anthony Richardson was able to at times, not as consistently as Florida fans would like. And I know that's going to be frustrating for Florida fans seeing, hey, Anthony Richardson's probably going top 3, top 5 picks overall. And only to have a year where you go, 6-6 in the regular season with him there as the Gators quarterback has got to be a little bit frustrating, but we'll see. I think Jack Miller helped himself out. Honestly, I like Jack Miller more than Graham Mertz right now in this competition. I think Graham Mertz is going to have every opportunity to be the starter because I think he's really came in and learned the offense and stuff like that. But Jack Miller looked more athletic to me. And if the offensive line is going to be as paltry as it was on Thursday night, then I think you better have a guy who can move a little bit. And Jack Miller looked like he can move better than Graham Mertz and throw the ball on the run, things like that. And then they like I said, I think they need Ricky Pearsall. I think they need Xavier Henderson to really step up. I think Caleb Douglas, he fumbled the ball one time, but Caleb Douglas looked like a big athletic guy. They had Khalil Jackson who's 6'3", 215 pounds. He caught a touchdown pass. So I think Caleb Douglas and Khalil Jackson are guys that look good. Marcus Burke had a touchdown reception. Andy Jean is a freshman that they're all excited about. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Gator wide receivers develop. They got Billy Gonzalez back as a coach there, so I think that'll be interesting to see. And then just on the defensive side, I think that the secondary, did well last night. I think there were times that they had an opportunity to give something up, but maybe the quarterback or the offense didn't see it. So you got to give credit to the people up front. Like I said, Cam Jackson, Desmond Watson, Will Norman, even a freshman, he looked good in the game last night. So there are some good things for Florida fans, but I think you leave this game a little concerned about the overall depth of the team, the overall playmaking ability on the perimeter. Your three playmakers right now are all at running back in my perception, with Montrell Johnson, Trevor Etienne, Cam Carroll. Those are the three guys that you give the ball to, and they've got an opportunity to make something happen. So for Southeastern 14, I am Blayne Gilmer. We'd love to hear your comments on the Florida spring game. What did you guys think? There was some good, there was some bad, and like I said, there was some ugly. And we'll be covering all things SEC going forward, the rest of the spring games coming up. And then we'll get into some recruiting as the summer goes on and getting ready to go for the season. So, like I said, I'm Blayne Gilmer for Southeastern 14. Catch you guys next time.